Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of On Point for today, Friday, the 5th day of April 2024. And indeed, when I was here last time, we were getting out of the month of March, and now we're in a brand new month of April. And for those who were born in April, I'm sure you're saying, welcome April. And I see my engineer is waving her hand, seems as though she's happy that she's about to celebrate another birthday. Well, when it comes, we'll be able to celebrate with you. Yes, good afternoon once again. My name is Alexis Jeffers, and I'm here as per usual every Friday afternoon from 1 until 2 p.m. with this program that I generally would come and host for my lunch break, so to speak. Well, while I'm have the open microphone at this point in time, because I'll get to a guest of mine who is here shortly. But let me just say that I want to shout out all who are listening to us at this point in time. Of course, we have persons who are on the island of Nevis, whether you're living from the bottom of Zion Hill all the way around to St. James, St. Thomas Parish, St. Paul's, into St. John's, up to St. George's, and right back around to the bottom of Zion Hill again. And every village and community in between, I want to say good afternoon to you. Of course, we do have followers down at St. Kitts, and those who would have joined us this afternoon, I say welcome. I also want to welcome all of our listeners down in Statia, Saba, Aruba, wherever you are. Those are the Dutch islands. And indeed, we go into St. Martin, French and Dutch as well. We go into the British and U.S. Virgin Islands, into Puerto Rico, up to the United States, from the East Coast to the West Coast, and all of those states in between. 50 states that make up the United States, and indeed the Canadians are listening as well, especially there in Toronto and Quebec and all those places. We do have quite a number of persons who follow us from time to time all throughout Canada. And the reason why I'm touching all of these areas is because we know for a fact that Nevisians are living pretty much in every country throughout the world. Not only Nevisians, but Kiddishans and Nevisians. They're scattered all over the world for some reason, whether it's for work, whether it's for vacation, whether it's for a temporary stay. But we have persons all over the globe, especially up in the United Kingdom for sure, where we have quite a number of Nevisians and Kiddishans there, and of course into Asia and all other areas. So we like to do that because with technology these days, we know Von Radio is being listened to near and far. With technology such as Facebook, YouTube, and also various other platforms, Von Radio can be picked up because the persons who are interested in knowing what is going on here in their beloved island. And some of us can present what is going on, but there are other persons who would want to go back and listen to some of the programming that have taken place before, and also follow up on what's going on that way. Sometimes at this time we tend to greet persons in terms of greetings for birthdays. Anyone who are celebrating at this time, I want to say happy birthday to you, happy anniversary, whatever the type of celebration that you're currently enjoying at this time. I say celebrate in style and celebrate as if it's the last one, but I wish you many, many more years of celebrations anyway. And those who are in the bereaved column, I want to express sympathies to you. It can be a difficult time when you lose someone, a loved one that is, and indeed, if you are in such a position, I express condolences and sympathies, and I want to offer all of our blessings that we can offer to you at this point through his precious name. Now, let me go quickly to the guest that I have here because he is pressed for time as well, and I'm going to introduce him, and then I'll come back to the meat of the programming shortly. So while you're waiting for what is to be imparted today, let's go to our guest, Mr. Winston Perkins. He is no stranger, I'm sure, to many persons out there. He is the current pastor there at the Rehoboth church over there in Libert Hill. I said the current pastor, but he'll tell you more about himself for sure. He have some information that he would want to impart at this point in time, and I told him, come along and you can use this platform, because of course these programs are archived so that they can be listened to at a later date. So this is a form of advertisement for you as well, and exposure. Winston, sorry. There's Vincent, who is Plug Eye, and then of course, I don't know if you want your nickname to be to be mentioned, but I don't mind, you know. I don't know about you, because when people say Zook, I feel good, because that is my nickname and also my correct name too. But anyway, Winston, I leave it to you, so you go ahead and you say what you have to say.
Good afternoon, radio listeners. I want to thank the Honourable Alexis Jeffers for allowing me to be a part of his program this afternoon. I'm attached to the Rehoboth Church of God in Libert Hill. It's funny, he said pastoring. I'm just assisting. Our pastor is not 100%, so I'm just, assisting with the work there right now. So I give God thanks for it. But we're actually hosting our Holy Convocation starting next week, Wednesday the 13th, the 12th, sorry, and to the 12th, the 10th, sorry, I'm mixing my information. The 10th unto the 14th, sorry about that. From the 10th to the 14th, next Wednesday to the following Sunday. We have a unique theme, which is timely for what's going on right now. It says, stay in the race, because, once you're born, you start running until you die, go to the grave. So encourage us to stay in the race. That's our theme for our convocation. It's our 66th anniversary, so we're giving God thanks for allowing us to get this far. But really what I'm here about is to talk about one of the events that we're going to be having there, which is on the 13th of Saturday morning. We're going to be doing a health walk. And one of the reasons why we decided to put on this health walk is because we realized that there is a gentleman over there who's doing a marvelous work with the young people. His name is Wendell Micey Wallace, and the church felt it is good to collaborate with him to help him to steer the young people in the right direction and keeping sports at the head of their minds, so they can have something to look forward to. I would say that the years I know Mr. Wallace, I found him to be dedicated to whatever he's doing. I played football with him for many years, and his mindset towards the game kind of kept me in a path that I am here today. Was always consistently, focusing on life and the things of life, especially keeping myself out of trouble. So I didn't really get myself involved with any bad habits, because he always have us training and tell us what to do when game days are around. And I think if he continue the same thing he did when I was younger with his young people, no doubt many of them should grow into successful young men and women. So the walk, we're looking at starting at 5 a.m. because the morning is getting bright, and we're going to be starting at the VOJN playground. We're going to head on up towards the area comes over to Franklin Brown Community Center, down left by the dam, the clinic, center. And then we're going to make a left by the Expetual, goes down to Newcastle. There are some people who are not avid walkers, so they will be able to just make the loop. You leave VOJ and go up the road and then turn around and come back up by Newcastle Pathway. The avid walker, we encourage you to continue, and you go up to Charlesville, where next to where Claude Nisby had his shop there, and then you're going to make a right turn across to where Winston Perkins, my brother, has his business there, and then you head back down to the main road and back up to Virgin Playfield. We would have a nice little breakfast waiting for the participants who are going to be doing the walk. We have t-shirts on sale, and the thing about the community, once you decide to do something, person jump on board, and right now we're actually running out of sizes because people are excited about what we are doing, trying to help Mr. Wallace to do his thing pretty nicely. So that's the reason I'm here this afternoon. I don't want to take up much of Mr. Honourable Alexis' time, so I want to thank him for allowing me to be here, and I encourage you to come on out to the nightly service, which is going to be started at 7:30 from Wednesday next week until Sunday 14th. So thank you again, Mr. Alexis Jeffers,
enough,
for allowing us
sure
to
enough.
me to be here.
And before you run though, I must also join with you, and I'll speak some more about Wendell Micey Wallace, because he has been involved in inculcating these skills into the young players in both football and cricket over there in the Newcastle camps, Libel Hill area. And I believe someday we might have to think about naming the VOJ Sporting facility.
I second that. I second that.
Because what you see out there is through his effort, along with fellas like, and we have to mention some of the other guys like Veli Maynard, Albie Pemberton, and all of the other young fellas around there who chip in and play their role and their part in terms of ensuring that the playfield is looked after and that facility is taken care of. And I must say that he has done such a good job where there are young players who would have graduated from his tutelage, have gone on to the Nevis youth cricket team, onto the Leeward Islands cricket team. And of course, I believe there is one or two of them who are up there right now in Antigua who just finished this under 15 regional cricket tournament, who would have came up under the tutelage of Wendell Wallace, Micey Wallace. So he continued to produce, young cricketers who have excelled, and it's because he have stuck with them. And he's a strict disciplinarian, and I give him my support when I can as well too, because when persons are doing such service to the community, what else can you do but give them the necessary support as well?
Well, Alex, I think one of the passion that drives Wallace is because he looked back over the years when we lost that field in Newcastle. He looked at a generation of young men who didn't have anywhere to go in terms of sports, and they got caught up in the wrong things. So that's why he's so passionate. He want to make sure that that doesn't happen again. So there's something for the young men to look forward to. So once again, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity, and I pray that your program continue to be successful. God bless you.
Thank you. And I made a note of these dates, so later on before I leave here, I'll try my best to mention those again, and I'll join in the walk. I said that publicly, so if I don't come, you have something against me. Yeah? So save me a t-shirt and what it is, XL, and I'll be in touch with you. Thank you. Okay, back to the programming. Yes, I believe I touched on some of the opening things that we normally would cover, but also let me say at this point, we have beautiful weather out there right now. The sun is out in all its glory, and while the sun is out, I am reminded that we're a few months away from the hurricane season, but there have been some talk out there in the media. I think I had a view of the Weather Channel yesterday, and they are speaking about a above average hurricane season to come. Now, these are predictions, but indeed, I just want us to have that mindset that the hurricane season is upon us, and we have to start preparing for any eventualities in that regard. While I'm touching on the weather as well, let me also speak of something that happened earlier this week, and that was a major earthquake in the Republic of China, Taiwan. The Republic of China, Taiwan is one of our strongest allies, and we've been friends since 1983 thereabout. One of the first countries that would have signed on with us to be a partner with us in our overall development here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And of course, there was a major earthquake there earlier this week. I believe it was Tuesday morning or Wednesday morning thereabout, and that was a large enough earthquake to create some damages there in Taiwan. I believe we would have heard through the news items that we would have seen and heard that I believe just about 9 persons would have lost their life, and about 50 persons are missing, and indeed there were over 900 persons that were injured during that particular strong earthquake. However, when one look back at what may have transpired 25 years ago in 1999, over 2,400 persons would have lost their lives in an earthquake then, which was I believe it was about a 7.6 magnitude earthquake then, and significant damage took place back then in 1999. With this strong earthquake, the damage and the loss of life is less. Yeah, any life that is lost is a difficult one and a challenge, of course, yes, but it certainly speaks to the resilience that would have been built into their infrastructure there in Taiwan. I've been there twice, and I know that the Republic of China, Taiwan, we have learned some things from them in terms of our overall infrastructure development, our educational system, healthcare, and all of that. And of course, they are the best when it comes to technology and anything to advance their country in terms of making it more resilient since they're in an area that is prone to some of these disasters. The good thing as well is that we have not heard of any loss of lives of our citizens who are there, living there and going to school, and that is a good thing. However, there was some loss of lives, yes, 9 lives, and for that we express our sympathies. And indeed, the resident ambassador, I certainly would have communicated with him personally as well and expressed my personal sympathies. The Premier of Nevis would have also expressed his sympathies and showed his concerns, and he definitely would have done so on behalf of the people of Nevis, and indeed I'm sure he would have done so on behalf of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, of course. Remember, the Honourable Mark Brantley was once the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and he was one who championed the cause of the Taiwanese in the international arena. So of course, when he speaks, I still think that he speaks as an ambassador for the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. So that I'm sure he meant to convey his feelings on behalf of the entire population. That being said, we wish everyone well in the Republic of China, Taiwan, and of course they have certainly, I believe, started the recovery process in terms of tearing down buildings that have been tilting over and so forth. We have seen those pictures, and I'm sure they would rebuild and rebuild much stronger and better going into the future. But our thoughts and prayers are with you, Ambassador, and your team here locally in terms of the embassy there in St. Kitts, and kindly convey our best wishes to the government and people of Taiwan. Of course, we continue to stand with you in every area when it comes to the relationship that we have built and forged over the years. Okay, over the weekend past, we would have had some exciting times over there at the VOJN Sporting Complex, and we just heard from Winston Perkins, who said he's putting on a walk, yes, on the 13th of April, which will be next Saturday, of course. But since we are talking about the events we had over the Easter weekend, I will say now that I have all those pictures to post and let the people of Nevis see, people of St. Kitts, and the persons who follow social media will get an idea and a feel as to what went on over there last Sunday. But indeed, as we would have advertised, there were 2 cricket matches that were scheduled to be played, and the weather cooperated well. We had some beautiful weather over there on Sunday, Easter Sunday. So there was a match between, or the first match that is, was between the Young Guns out of St. Kitts and the Empire Cricket Club. Mostly younger players would have made up both teams, but indeed at the end of it all, the Young Guns would have prevailed and they would have won the first match. The scores I don't have with me, but at least they would have won, and the man of the match was Richard Amerford. Those of you who know him, you would know that he performed such a way that he would have gotten the man of the match award, which was a cash prize of $300. So that was the first match, and then of course the second match was St. Kitts National Select Team against the Nevis National or Island Select Team, however you want to put it. But it was a team from St. Kitts and a team from Nevis, and they had a mixture of players who would have represented St. Kitts and also Nevis. At the end of it all, the Nevis cricket team would have prevailed, and indeed that was an exciting match. It came down to the last couple of balls in the 20th over, and indeed Nevis prevailed, like I said. And I want to congratulate the man of the match for that particular game, who was Adrian Williams. He would have done what was necessary to take the Nevis team across the finish line, and I want to congratulate him, along with the captain of that team, Mr. Theron Busu. Both of them are from Butlers. They were in the wicket at the same time, and they would have carried the division team across the line and did a wonderful job in that regard. So this event was the 6th annual cricket extravaganza, and I say 6th, but we have been having cricket over there on Easter Monday for a number of years, but back in the day we were doing so with this tape ball, this tape wind ball, and we stepped up to a different level. Back 6 years ago we missed out 2020 and 2021, so this is the 6th hosting, but we missed those 2 years because of the COVID situation then, so we decided to continue after COVID, and we've been having matches, of course, with teams from Antigua, of course. Next year I don't know who will be there, but we're going to seek to get some regional team in here for next Easter Sunday, God's willing. So I want to commend the entire New Vision team and the organization there that is spearheaded by Mr. Wendell Micey Wallace and his team. And I mentioned some names before. Also want to mention persons like Mrs. Colleen Liburn, also Latoya Busu, and all of the other young ladies who would lend their support in the kitchen and also in the organization and administration of the entire process over there at the VOJ sporting facility. I also want to thank DJ Zimba and DJ Lalbo for providing entertainment, along with the one-man band out of St. Kitts, Tony. Those of you who are familiar with Tony, one-man band out of St. Kitts. So it was a wonderful afternoon. Music, food, drinks, cricket, lovely atmosphere. It was rather hot though, so we didn't really have a bumper crowd, but a very good crowd came out. I also want to thank Mr. Morton Sandopi, Curtis Morton, that is, sorry. His name is, he was the one who sang a song some time ago about nicknames, so it's a part of our culture. So there's nothing wrong with calling him Sandopi, but that's Curtis Morton. He provided the camera, he did the camera work and also posted the entire event and matches on YouTube, so they're there to see. Curtis, thank you for coming out, and he normally come and do things without being asked. He just show up. That's a part of him, and that is a part of his contribution to the sporting arena here on Nevis. So thank you very much, Curtis, and your efforts are there to be seen, because I've had a chance to go and review as well. So that's it for that event of last Sunday, and we'll start our plans for the future as well in terms of next year, Easter Sunday, God's willing. So that was that for the Easter Cricket Festival, and stay tuned, because like I said, I'll have some of those pictures posted over the weekend so that persons can get an idea as to what would have transpired. Indeed, we are wrapping up somewhat the athletic season here on Nevis. I say wrap up because once the mini Olympics, the inter-primary school championship is done with, then there are some additional events to come, but most people see this as the major, the biggest event that is held on the athletics calendar each year. And indeed, this past Wednesday would have seen a massive turnout of persons to this event to witness the competition that was held among the 9 primary schools, and these are public primary schools and also the private schools here on the island of Nevis. And indeed, it was a wonderful event. There were some records broken. There were some rather impressive performances by our young athletes, both male and females. And at the end of the day, at the end of the competition, of course, the Charleston Primary School would have prevailed as the champion for 2024. My understanding is that this is their 5th championship, and they're now bragging and boasting about making it 6 next year. Well, if you are the biggest school with the largest role, the largest pool of talent, the largest of everything, then we expect them to back their chat, so to speak, if I want to put it that way, for next year. But there are other schools that are coming up, like my little school over there in St. James. The St. James Primary School, I believe last year St. James would have had 4 gold medals, if I am not mistaken. I might be wrong, but I know for a fact this year they got 7, which is more than what they would have gotten last year. So I want to commend all of the athletes. I want to commend the head teacher or headmistress, Miss Catherine Wilkinson. I want to commend all of the teachers, the coach over there as well, Adrian Williams. I want to commend the entire staff and students and parents and well-wishers and supporters of the St. James Primary School for lending their support to the school, because with that support, I believe that would have been an incentive for the students to do well, and they would have performed well. The smallest public school on Nevis, with just about 42 students, would have gotten 7 gold medals, 5 silver and 1 bronze, for a total of 13 medals. Now, compared to, for example, Ivor Walters with well in excess of 100 students, I don't know what their role is, but anyway, a much larger school, they got 8 gold medals. So just 1 more than the St. James Primary School. But let's look at the road there at Charlestown Primary. They are in excess of 230 or almost 240 students. That's almost 6 times the size of St. James Primary School. And for St. James to come up with almost half of the gold medals that Charlestown Primary would have gotten, that tells me that if this school had a few more students to enter into some of these races, and not the pressure being brought to bear on the few that were there to perform this well, I believe you would have seen more gold medals, more medals, for example, and some performances that we can speak worthily of. That being said, though, I want to say at this point in time, size does not matter, not in every case. And this is one of those instances in which size does not matter. I think it has to do with the heart. And I remember back in the day when there was this basketball team, Houston Rockets. You know, I forgot the name of the coach, but he had a quotation: never underestimate the heart of a champion. And I believe that is something that we can say that the students and the entire school there at St. James have embraced, no matter the size, because they have excelled in cricket, if they have excelled in football. If we can recall, all of us may recall that in 2022, during the primary school football championship, the St. James Primary School would have made it all the way to the finals and played against the same Charlestown Primary School, a school with 200 plus students, almost 240 students. And this same small school of less than 50 would have gone out and stood up. It was like David against Goliath. Anyway, in that case, Goliath prevailed. But David cannot be defeated, in the sense that in their mind they thought they would have done a remarkable job to even take it to penalty shootout in that particular match. But we have excelled. They have excelled over there, and the students have excelled in spelling bee quiz competition, as small as the pool of talent is. And you know, while I'm at that, you know, I am happy that persons are now seeing the wisdom behind keeping that school open. We have different opinions over there in terms of persons are still saying merge both the VOJ and the St. James Primary School. That is like a quick fix to everything. I don't believe in quick fixes. I believe that we can sit down and come up with strategies to fix situations such as this one. Because I'll say this, prior to 2013, little effort or little or no effort was made to ensure that the zoning rules were enforced, especially when it comes to that school. A lot of students who were living next to the school were going to attending school in Charlestown, in Gingerland, and all up and down the island of Nevis. So the school, the roll then in 2013 was just about 28 students. I can recall that when I just got into government, and the discussions that I was a part of, or the discussions that I found myself being a part of, most of them were, let's close the school. I recall saying right there and then, well, when you're all ready to close it, I'll be right at the gate waiting. But I meant that, but you know, the school could have closed without me even standing up at the gate. because on Friday afternoon they could say, well, good afternoon, go home, enjoy your weekend, and by Monday morning the school doors are closed. But anyway, that didn't happen, and it will not happen if I have my way. So we went about the process of ensuring that we can feed more students into the schools. I even recommended that we can push the zones further on beyond beyond Eden Brown and beyond Potworks down to Camps Gate, for example, and even over to Zion. Well, those things were suggestions. They were not taken on board, but that's okay. And that is when we went about finishing up Sunrise Housing Development up there at Madden's, right next to the school. And while I'm at that, people or students right in that same development right now are going to other schools. That is when we also came up with this housing development called Cedar View, which is just on the opposite side. Almost 60 houses over there with a number of students or children in that same housing development going to other schools. And so there are things we can do without taking this approach of closing down. I can safely say that we are missing out on almost 20 or more students who are going to other schools right now. And it might be a knock on the administration as it is. It might be a knock on the Ministry of Education. I am saying if we have rules, let us go and enforce the rules. And this is not to say that it is me against the administration or Alexis Jeffers against the Ministry of Education. I'm just saying, if there are rules, let us apply the rules across the board. Let there be no favoritism, and let it be known that these rules must be followed. And there are persons who right now would be supporting the school and jumping on board. Yes, come on board. They themselves would have gone elsewhere with their children, but they are now back, which I commend them for bringing them back. And I'll say something further, publicly, because the athlete that performed well, that young lady, and I want to commend her and congratulate her. But I can recall a conversation. I remember coming down out of my office, right down there in the Social Security building, met the grandmother, and the young athlete, or the young lady. And they were about to register to get into school here on the island. And they came to the wrong location, of course. The location that they should have gone to is up at Marion Avenue, or Marion Heights, sorry. So I tell them, let's go, I'll take you up. And in the conversation, they said the grandmother said she was going to register down at St. Thomas's Primary School. Of course, they may or may not have gotten into that particular school, but I know they're living in Butlers. And I must commend the grandmother for listening and doing the right thing. And that is how that athlete would have gotten into, or that student would have gotten into the St. James Primary School. I didn't know she was an athlete at that point in time. But anyway, the persons, or the clerical persons, or the persons who do the necessary paperwork there at the Department of Education did the right thing as well to ensure that that student stayed in the zone that she lives in. And I'm sure the school is now prospering from that. But one of the reasons why they said they were going to another school was because there were some pictures all up and down social media with the repairs that were being done at the St. James Primary School at that time, with the bathrooms and the surroundings. And it was so unfortunate that people would have taken those pictures and put them up on Facebook, and there were persons who were turned off from the school as a result. But that was the intention, I suppose, to create that terrible image of the St. James Primary School. But the school has survived that. I told the grandmother then that those repairs will be over and done within the next week or two, and then the school will be cleaned up, and your granddaughter will be in a very good environment. And so said, so done. The school is not in the best of shape, but it's in a far better state of affairs than what it was then. But whatever the intentions were then, it was not successful at all. And sometimes we have to, chastise persons who take that route so as to create difficulty and harm and to destroy, because that should not be the intent of anyone here on the island of Nevis. Whatever we have, we know we have scarce and limited resources in every regard. or whatever resources there are. The government of the island of Nevis, the Concerned Citizens Movement in government, is trying its absolute best to ensure that they use the limited resources to do its best to ensure the infrastructure, including schools, are being looked after. So when that was done, it was certainly not good for the school, it was certainly not good for the community, and it was certainly not good for the island of Nevis that these particular pictures would have gone out there to the international community and social media, and persons were reacting to them in such a way where they were saying that they don't want to go to the school. I want to encourage one and all to do the right thing. The school is there for us since 1979. I remember being one of the first to walk through those gates, and I wouldn't want to be alive to see it close either, because I know the resources are there, the students or the children are there to go to that school, and let us encourage those in our communities who are going elsewhere to support the local institution or the institution that is within our communities, so that we can build them up, provide that backbone or that stable environment for our children. Because when St. James School does well, the whole of St. James will rejoice. When St. James School does well, the whole of Butlers and Brickhill and the neighboring communities will rejoice. Because we love to see our people excel. And so, this afternoon I'm saying to all of us, let us support our local institutions, whether they're schools, churches, whether it's some other group or entity within our communities. Let us support them the best way we can, so that we can build up our communities here on the island of Nevis. And the competition, the friendly rivalry and competition is good. St. James against VOGen, nothing wrong with that. St. James against Charlestown Primary School, well, that's where the marble is at. Everybody rejoice and jump up when their school wins. So I am rejoicing this afternoon that the St. James Primary School have done well. And like I said, by the same token, I want to commend the Charlestown Primary School and all of the other schools that would have entered their students or the athletes into this particular event. And those who would have won, congratulations. Those who did not win, because I don't use the word lose or lost or losers or anything. Those who did not win, your efforts have been recognized, and we appreciate your effort in that regard. So, St. James Primary School, and you know, the happy people them out there saying that St. James School is doing better now. No, things don't happen overnight. So whatever you are put on social media, go ahead. But you know, there are some surrogates out there for the NRP, and let me qualify who a surrogate is, or mouthpiece. Let me do so by way of example. You know, in the United States, you see persons like Donna Brazil. You know that name, a black lady. She is always on the major networks in America. She's one of those surrogates for the Democratic Party, or the Democrats. She pushed an agenda for the Democrats and for the President of the United States. Mark you, I suppose there are times when she would yield and, you know, give some commendation to the Republicans if she have to. But she's always speaking in favor of the Democratic Party, because she's what you call a surrogate of the Democratic Party. By the same token, on the Republican side, they have their own surrogates as well too. People like Karl Rove, and I think he's now deceased now. What's his name? Rush Limbaugh. He used to have a radio program there in the United States. But they have both parties have their surrogates. Now here in Nevis, or St. Kitts Nevis, political parties do have their surrogates as well, or their mouthpiece. So it seems as though some of them are out there saying that St. James is doing better now. I don't know what they mean by that, but anyway, I'll tell you this much. I can safely say from these microphones, I have helped to save the St. James Primary School. So if they're doing well now, it's because of the foresight, the wisdom, and the tenacity on my behalf to make sure that that school stays open. And I'll continue to fight and champion for that school. 45 years I'm going. I'm hoping, God's willing, that I'm alive to celebrate 50 years with them. So those of you who have come in the last shower raid, as they say, you just come. You don't know nothing about St. James and St. James Primary School. And you don't even know what the exploits have been over the years. But I want to say that I continue to fight for that school. And congratulations once again, as I wrap up, to the head teacher, very young head teacher, Miss Catherine Wilkinson, and her staff. There are some who would have just come to the school, and you can celebrate as well too. It's your school now, embrace it. And all of the students, all 42 of you, and most of those who would have excelled as well, because by excelling, you have also set the bar high for those students who continue to try. Let them pull themselves up and excel as well also. And the entire community of butlers, brickill and so forth, I say congratulations to all of you, and let us continue to support the St. James Primary School. It is ours, and we have to big it up and lift it up at every time. Let's move on. Okay, last Thursday, the 28th of March, we would have seen the opening of the Wally Water Taxi administrative facility. We call it that's the administrative part of that project, where that building will house NASPER's operations in terms of the ticket booth, offices, kitchen. They also have inside there a VIP area, and of course the seating and waiting area as well. So it is a building. It's not a very large building, let's be clear about that, but it's one that is adequate based on how the operation is. You know, persons come to go to St. Kitts, and most times people would wait around for about 2 minutes to 5 minutes, and then they're ready to go. Of course, if you get there earlier than that, you'll have a longer wait based on the schedule of the boats. But indeed, most persons would come there, and within 5 minutes they're gone. So you're in and you're out. When you come from St. Kitts, you're on the pier, off the pier, and through the gates, and you're gone. And that's how the operation is really. It's one of those operations that is very fluid. People come and go. And we had the opening of that building last Thursday, the 28th day of March. Now, some may say it has been long in coming. Yes, there have been some challenges over the years. Of course, the pier itself, that was opened, I believe, in 2018. And indeed, the renovation of the building that was there started somewhere around 2019 or thereabout. Be that as it may, we ran into COVID-19 in March of 2020. And of course, as I said, when we had the opening ceremony, there would have been the repurposing of some of those funds that were earmarked for that building and the renovation of that building, because with COVID-19, the revenue stream, collection stream of the government would have fell significantly, because of course you recall, all of us will recall, that our borders were closed. Aircraft were not flying anywhere. Nothing was going in. Nobody was going anywhere. So if people are not moving, and you depend on your tourism sector, for example, as one of the major pillars of your economy to bring in certain percentage of revenue, and it's not coming, then of course you won't have access to the amount of monies that you would have liked to have to spend to develop the island of Nevis. So at that point in time, the administration had to weigh in the balance. What do? You continue with your infrastructural development, or you ensure that persons are able to live, persons are able to collect their salaries, persons are able to pay their mortgages, persons are able to send their children to school, persons are able to live and live comfortably. So we concentrated on lives and livelihood at that point in time. So the work was not terminated, but put on hold, put on pause. And so we didn't pick that up again until I believe it was early in 2022 thereabout. So it took some time for us to get back to that building, because 2020 revenue stream was almost non-existent. 2021 was getting back the economy together, getting persons back to the island and getting persons back out to work in certain sectors of the economy. So that was one of the challenges, the COVID-19 and the revenue generation, that is, the monies were tight. We also had some challenges, of course, with the plans and so forth in terms of getting those through planning and getting to work. We also had challenges with that project overall in terms of even the weather situation that we encountered early in the project in terms of Maria and Irma two hurricanes that would have done a lot of devastation in St. Martin and Anguilla and those places. Not so much Nevis, but we had some difficulties over there as well too, and throughout the island of Nevis. Of course, there were also challenges in other areas, the EIA and all kinds of things that we would have had to handle over there to make sure that we get that project to where it's at. So it wasn't easy. It was a major challenge for us in some regard, but of course here we are speaking about the opening of that administrative building. And of course there was always the naysayers and the challenges that you have with all kind of negatives coming from the opposition. But of course, from our standpoint and from my standpoint personally, I normally I don't go around and say it, but my thinking is sometimes you just have to ignore the noise and move on and press on. So I know for sure that the opposition would have had many things to say. Well, some rainfall, and they take some pictures and put them up on Facebook and other social media platform and say, look here, water is over the tent, we're under the tent, and water this and water that. Of course, all those things were said, but that's okay. That's okay. The good thing is that we would have pressed on and we would have gotten to the point where a beautiful structure has been converted over there, whereby we can say that is now for the use of the people of Nevis. And I laugh when I saw the leader of the NRP showed up there that morning. I said to myself, well, the opening ceremony is for everyone. I suppose she was invited, that's fine. But when I looked at her, I said to myself, well, some people are brave, because the negatives that came from her in the first place, I know I would have asked her to undertake the EIA for that particular project, and she said she didn't have any time. But that's okay. I went across to St. Kitts and found out who can I engage, and I can recall the name now, Mr. Patrick Williams, a gentleman with some, he's now deceased, and God bless his soul, but he had some challenges. He had some challenges, personal challenges, but he did say to me, Jeffers, irrespective of my challenges, I'm going to come and I'm going to deliver for you. And deliver he did the EIA, so we were able to get that submitted to planning, came over, had an EIA presentation right over there at the Franklin Brown Community Center, and he did a marvelous job. Over 100 persons were there, so I know people were eager and interested in that particular project. So they came, and he presented, and we were able to move beyond that hurdle. And irrespective of what, like I said, no matter what the challenges are, you just have to make up your mind and tell yourself you're either going to go around it, through it, or over it. Well, we went all of the different directions we could go. We went around the challenges of the EIA, we went through it, we went above it, we went around, well, everything we did to get it done. And it was done to the acceptance of the persons down there planning. But as I touch on that, and I'm going to get back to what I'm saying, as I touch on that, it reminds me of the culture that exists in NRP. You see, they have a culture of lies, a culture of deceit, a culture of misinformation, a culture of hypocrisy. And I use the word hypocrisy because you know who a hypocrite is someone who consciously and deliberately deceives others in order to further their own agenda. That's who a hypocrite is. So persons who would say things that are not true, tell lies, misinform the public, mislead the public, just to push an agenda, those are the hypocrites that you'll have to deal with from time to time on a daily basis. And that's the culture you find inside of the NRP. So it reminds me now too of the kind of lies that they have spread here on the island of Nevis, and they have been found wanting in that regard. And I don't think I have to go back to the late Malcolm Gishard when they spread all kind of lies here up and down Nevis, and then when they were done with the destruction of a man, they say them lies, they don't do the work. Signs them down, they ingest up all up and down. But anyway, we'll get back to that, because the bottom line is those who set out to destroy, one day will destroy themselves, and that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say any more about that. But get back to the Wally Water Taxi facility. We know that the economic impact is there. It is there to show, because all of the operators out there keep moving day after day. Some of the fleet over there of those boats, they're growing. The fleets are growing. People are purchasing boats. And as a matter of fact, if I were to give you an idea as to what happened in March of this year, for the month of March, we've seen significant movement over there of passengers. As a matter of fact, I think the Premier would have mentioned them a couple of days ago, but I jot them down as he was speaking. The movements for March 2024, 26,019 passengers would have embarked and disembarked over there at the Ole Water Taxi facility. Compared to March last year, 2023, we had 21,311 persons, or passengers, sorry. So that's a difference of 4,708 passengers. That's an increase over March of last year. And every month have seen an increase in the amount of passengers using that facility for this year thus far. If you can recall, last year we said just about 244,000 or just over 244,000 passengers would have used that facility. Based on the trajectory that we are seeing and based on the numbers that we are seeing, we are set to surpass those numbers by later this year, God's willing. So we wait and see. So I'm telling you, the investment that we would have made over there, and I want to thank the Yarwoods, because the Yarwoods would have supported us in this particular venture, because they were getting they were getting quite annoyed by the fact that persons were coming through their properties at 12 and 1 o'clock in the morning, and their property is a hotel, so you understand the security issues that they would have had to face from time to time. So they would have supported this project. Not only that, they would have ensured that they sold us a tract of land over there that can be used and will be used for additional parking. I think it's about 9.1 acres of land, and the price, I will say, was just about 1.9 million EC dollars. You do the maths and it boils down to just about $4 per square foot. And the Yarwoods must be commended for that, because we know lands in that particular area is up at $90 per square foot thereabout. So Yarwoods, you can say you've made your contribution towards this particular investment, and we appreciate it. As Nivisions, you have given back something. I wish you could give back some more, but you have given back, and we appreciate that, right? So the parking areas will be dealt with accordingly, and I want to thank them. Like I said, we are running out of time here shortly, but at least that particular project, and before I move off of it, let me just say that the other day I went and did some research of some of the articles that have been out there regarding this particular project. And indeed, some articles were written as the project progressed, and it was quite pleasing to read some of these articles, because there were persons out there who are staunch supporters of this particular project, irrespective of the negatives that were out there being said. One thing I would want Nivisions to do is, listen, build up some courage, and when you hear they're not happy with the negatives, not challenge them, but correct them. Get on the airwaves and say that that's not the way it is, and that is not true. There's nothing wrong with that, to let your voice be heard as a Nivision, because you see, when these negatives are being spewed out there, it goes far and wide, and once those negatives gets out there and there are no counter to these negatives, people think it's the gospel, and that is why we are saying, even at this juncture, that persons out there who sit behind their computer and spread all these lies about Nevis, I want you to cease and desist. Stop it. If you were born and raised on the island of Nevis, what did Nevis do to you for you to spread all of these negatives? What did Nevis do to you so you can't go there and say something nice about Nevis? I said to all of those who probably don't have anything to do, Lord, don't waste your time on the computer. Think deep. Especially here in Nevis, there are lots of work available here on the island of Nevis. Go and find something to do. If you're out in the United States and you don't have anything to do, well, I don't know what to tell you to do. Come home, because there's work here at home. So instead of staying out there and spreading all of the negatives, hoping that NRP want to win an election for you to run home and get a work. Come home now. Because lots of work. Four Seasons have a lot of jobs open down there. A lot of different entities here on the island are looking for people. The call centers are looking for workers. So in every particular sector on Nevis, there is work available. Construction is booming. Come home and get a job in the construction industry. Come home and work on one of these water taxi boats as well too, because they need workers. There's work here on the island of Nevis, and I hope when I'm saying this, divisions abroad will listen to me and come home. But perhaps some persons who are not divisions might say, wow, Nevis sound attractive, I'm coming. But listen, whoever chooses to come and find work if there's work to be done here, because we want us all to put our hands to the plow, and let's get plowing and let's get working, because there's work to be done. And let's say this. Someone like Neil Long, who came here some time ago, and I heard the Premier repeat it the other day, and I have to repeat it as well too. Well, Neil Long said the most fantastic thing about Nevis. And then of course we had some persons who came by recently as well. I believe is the daughter of daughter and granddaughter of two of the former presidents in the United States, George W. Bush and the older Bush, the father. She also said something similar. Well, Nevis is nice. They said they left their heart in Nevis. I don't know what is beating in their chest, but they said their heart belonged to Nevis, or Nevis is in their heart, or something like that. Whatever they said, it says they're coming from the bottom of their heart, and they're saying to the world that Nevis is paradise on earth, heaven on earth, the best place they've been to. So if they see it that way, how come we as Nevisians who live here, work here, get up in the morning and see the sun rise in the east and set in the west, how come we can't say the same thing? But if it takes if it takes someone who is not from here to spread the good word about Nevis, well, so be it. It's free advertising, free advertisement. But Nevis is such a wonderful place. There's no place on earth I'll rather be than here. Let us embrace this place. And when you hear people talking negative, as I said before, set the record straight. Tell them so you go. If they talk about water, tell them you have water in your pipe running 24/7. There have been occasions when we have a ruptured pipe, and of course water has to be shut down in certain areas in order to remedy that situation. So nothing is wrong with losing some water for a few hours. If there is a difficulty anywhere on the line with electricity, of course electricity will have to go for a short period of time. But by and large, those two bits of infrastructure, those bits of utility services, those are in the best shape they've ever been. The whole of Nevis, I must say, is in the best shape it has ever been over the years. And no matter what is said about us, we're the best there is and the best there will be. And I want us to embrace this island and say good things about it, because when it's all said and done, Nevis belongs to all of us. It is what we call home, home sweet home. Well, I hear the music in the background, so seems like my time is up. So I touched on a couple of topics, yes, but next week I'll come back with some more, God's willing. So thank you for listening to On Point for today, Friday the 5th of April. And I want to say to you, continue to have a wonderful day, a safe weekend. May God continue to bless us all here on the island of Nevis. And if you go to church, go out on Sunday and praise your God. And, continue to be a good citizen of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, but more so the island of Nevis. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful weekend, and God bless.
Views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.
You're listening to Vaughn Radio from the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis.
The afternoon time has moved on to 2 o'clock.
With all the power from